Right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, the Charlotte Hornets just wrapped up their best regular season in 6 years as they went 43 and 39, but it did not result in a trip to the playoffs. The Hornets were eliminated from the NBA's play-in tournament last night courtesy of the Atlanta Hawks, and it was due in large part to their Achilles heel this season, which has been their defense or lack thereof. The Hornets were 25th in points allowed this season, and it was once again on display last night as they surrendered 132 points to the Hawks in 48 minutes of play. And by the end of the day, in the NBA. It does not matter how much firepower that you have at the offensive end of the floor, because the Hornets can score. But if you cannot stop anyone, it's going to catch up to you at some point. And it caught up to Charlotte last night at the most inopportune time. Now, guard Lamello Ball did not have a great shooting night last night. He was 7 of 25 while going 4 of 14 from behind the 3-point line, and he had 26 points in total. As a team, Charlotte was 13 or 41 from deep. And this is a team that has lived and died by the three-point shot all season long. And last night, they faltered by it. Now, not having Gordon Hayward last night due to injury also hurt the Hornets. And of course, the Miles Bridges ejection definitely didn't help things as well. But nonetheless, this team just wasn't able to get it done at that key moment. Now, overall, Charlotte did improve their win total by 10 games from last season. I know last season they only played 72 games. It was a shortened season, but nonetheless, if you're the Hornets, you finished with a winning record, and you got to try to find a way to build off of this. Now, they are one of the more exciting teams in the Eastern Conference, but they're going to have to get better at the defensive end of the floor if they're going to take the next step. You can see that LaMelo Ball has the it factor in regards to being a guard for the Hornets. And this guy, he's the bona fide star in this league for the years to come. You have Gordon Hayward on the contract for a few more years. What type of impact is he going to have? You have a long term deal with Terry Rozier. So, your perimeter is set. But it's one of those where, you know what, you got to try to find a way to solidify your front court a little bit more. Miles Bridges is a free agent. I would be surprised if he leaves. I think the Hornets are going to try to keep him first and foremost. But nonetheless, you got to find a way to improve at the defensive end. You need more size if you're the Hornets. You can't just simply live and die by the 3-point shot like they've done. And these are things that really have to be hashed out going forward with Mitch Kupchak, who is running this front office, and of course James Borrego, the head coach, who has finished his fourth as the head coach of the Charlotte Hornets, and his team has turned around on his watch. Nonetheless, if you're Charlotte, you have to find a way to not only take that next step to get the playoffs, but you have to ask yourself, what can you do to get among that upper echelon of teams in the Eastern Conference? And you look at the Bucks, the Sixers, the Heat, and the Celtics. These are generally the teams, and of course the Nets. Even though the Nets themselves are in the play-in tournament, but for the most part, with the exception of the Nets this year being in a play-in tournament, these are the teams that have been the upper echelon teams in the East in the recent years, especially the Bucks and Sixers and Heat. And of course, in the case of the Bucks and the Heat, they are the last two teams to win the Eastern Conference. And of course, Milwaukee right now is currently the defending NBA champions. But nonetheless, you got to ask yourself, how can you find a way to get, over them? And the thing is this, especially in the case of the Bucks, they are the defending champs. They have the size advantage. You look at the Sixers with Joel Embiid, and if you're Charlotte, you simply don't match up well with those teams, and you have to ask yourself, what can we do to get over the hump to, be on the same level with these teams and ultimately get past them? You got to get bigger in your front court. That's first and foremost. So it's going to be interesting to see what this team does in the offseason. Now, Michael Jordan, the Hornets owner, and it's hard to believe that with a player of his caliber and greatness, that the Hornets have been so bad for so long on his watch. And that just goes to show you that great players also, it always doesn't translate to being great front office personnel, making great personnel decisions, and of course, in this case, being like a great owner as far as like building a winner. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen for the Hornets heading to in the next season. It's one of those where you know what, they were playing with fire all season long. We saw the Hornets on numerous occasions give up 130 and give up 140 points in contest and lose. And we've seen the Hornets on multiple occasions score 120 points in a game and still turn around and lose. So it caught up to them last night. It goes back to the old adage: whatever you can't do well always catches up to you at the most inopportune time. And generally, I know that the play-in tournament technically doesn't count as a playoffs, but it's still a playoff setting. And your weaknesses are going to be magnified more. And we saw the ineptitude of the Hornets on the defensive end of the floor last night, front and center. It's a big reason why they lost to the Hawks. Rather, it's a big reason why they're home right now. And unless the Charlotte Hornets find a way to fix this problem sooner rather than later, this is what they're going to be. They're going to be a team that's going to be contending for a spot in the play-in tournament. They're not even going to get into the top six. They're going to be contending consistently for a spot in the play-in tournament. And that, until you fix that, all they're going to look like is a one and done redundant franchise. So let's see what the Hornets can do in the offseason to rectify this. This is still a step in the right direction for them, but still, you got to find a way to take that next step. So let's see what the Hornets are going to do to rectify their issues. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.